We are not alone. From the great American Southeast, United States, Atlanta. How you doing? Welcome to the No Wheat Geek. Brandon, I'm joined today by Brandon. I didn't ask if you wanted me to actually use some kind of a secret code name.
Just Silver will be good.
It's too late now, so it will say B. Randon or Silver, as he likes to go. We'll go by Silver. Welcome back to the No Wheat Geek. This is a live stream. So if you're joining us, thank you for joining us. And if you want to help this channel in any way, this is brand new. I think, Brandon, this channel is a month old, roughly. I just uploaded my 20th video. We've got about 1,000 views total. So yeah, we're starting kind of strong. It's a slow go anytime you start a YouTube channel from scratch. So if this is something you want to tag along and support and be a part of, do take a few seconds, click subscribe, that helps. Comment, share the channel with your friends. All of this helps, and we'll continue to grow along with you. So thank you. So Brandon, again, welcome to the channel, man. How you been doing?
Been doing good. Thank you for having me on the channel, and congratulations on being active for 1 month.
Thank you.
Hope it continues to go.
I hope so too. So Brandon, or excuse me, Silver, I had you come aboard because we have a lot of shared interests. There's a lot of things that we like in common. You're wearing a cool shirt. I dig it. It's Star Wars. It's got the original, the trilogy, right? Would you say that it is the best trilogy? There are 3 sets of trilogies with Star Wars: the prequel, the original, and the sequel. What is your favorite?
Oh, the original by far. Like, I started with the original, and haven't seen the prequels, the sequels. Like, they just don't compare to the impact that the original had.
Now, I thought though that because you're a lot younger than me, like I think your dad and I are the same age, potentially. So I just outed myself, like my head didn't already out me. But let me, like, when you were growing up, like, you grew up with the prequels, right? Like, wasn't that your era of Star Wars?
Yeah, that was my era because episode 1 came out in 1999, and by that point, like, the original trilogy had already been out for over 15 years, or at least it concluded
Right.
over 15 years by that point.
Right. So were you a kid in the theater that went to, like, did you see the prequels in the theater?
Yeah, I did. I saw episode 1 with my dad.
Okay. So does that nostalgia pull not at least make the prequels for you personally close to the original trilogy?
Maybe a little. I mean, we could probably talk for a long time about my opinions on the prequels, but I mean, episode 3 at the very least from the prequels will always be a special one to me because of how much that movie just tied into the original trilogy.
It really did. And speaking of tying into the original trilogy, one of my favorite Star Wars movies of the more recent ones was Rogue One for that very reason. It ties directly into episode 4. And so if in a later live cast, we're going to actually rank our favorite Star Wars movies in order from worst to first. But in this channel today, give me this much. What order, if you're telling someone brand new that's never seen Star Wars, what order would you suggest that they watch these films?
I would suggest you watch them in the order they came out, starting with the original trilogy, then the prequels, and then the new sequel.
Do you put Rogue One into it as well?
Yeah, I would. I would probably put Rogue One right after episode 3. That way you just see how the prequels and Rogue One timeline wise is, a prequel as well. So it all just connects right there. And then once you have that connection, then you just shift into the, I guess, new sequel of Star Wars.
So you said in the order that they came out. Am I understanding that right? Or the order that they're numbered in the film?
Oh, the order they came out, starting with like episodes 4 through 6.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I would probably do the same thing because if you've never seen Star Wars, you're not going to understand the whole surprise with Darth Vader being the father. Spoilers. But to me, it's like What I would do personally for me is this might be controversial. I would start with Rogue One, maybe. Hear me out. I would start with Rogue One, then I would do episode 4, the original, A New Hope. Then I would do episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. Then, because now the unveil has happened. Now we know, oh my goodness, Darth Vader is the freaking dad of Luke Skywalker, right? Okay. Now that mystery is out of the box, then I would go back. Oh, I would go back to episode 3. I think I would throw out 1 and 2 completely, I think. Because episode 1, for me as an adult watching episode 1 in the theater, I couldn't tolerate Jar Jar Binks. I just couldn't do it. And Anakin, as a kid actor, I was not a big fan of. Hayden Christensen had about the acting ability as a plank of wood, but he still did the part okay. But episode 3, I think still stands out. I mean, it stands up today. If you watch it today, the visuals look great. The acting's not terrible. Minimal Jar Jar. There's no little kids running around, and the little kids that there were, they bit the dust, right? So anyway, that's kind of my take on that. So I think I would go Rogue One, episode 4, 5, 3, and then end it with Return of the Jedi and completely throw 7, 8, 9 into the dumpster heap is what I would do. That's me. That's just my opinion. What about the sequel trilogy? I mean, were there aspects of it that you liked?
I think like one of the aspects I really like about the new trilogy is that, we got to see Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher, reprise their roles as Luke, Han, and Leia. But the thing that just always has gotten me with the sequels is, especially the first two, 7 and 8, is how much of a copycat film they are of episodes 4 and 5. And then you get the Rise of Skywalker, which we can probably talk about that one a lot more during the rankings in the future, but that to me is just like they just took a bunch of stuff and just threw it together and said, here, this is a movie. This is how we're going to end it. We're moving on to the next Star Wars project.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, a quick shout out. We have a chat. Dino Pie 11 says hi. Hi, Dino Pie 11. How's it going?
Hello.
If you'd like to add to the conversation, you can join the chat room and you can post comments. And as I see them pop up on my screen, I will bring them up and we will have discussions about your chats. All right, so we've gotten kind of our Star Wars talk out of the way. There actually is news in the Star Wars universe right now, and I don't know if it's good news, if it's bad news. I guess that depends on your perspective. But I figured we would talk about some things. There is an article on The Mandalorian, and before I get into that, what are your thoughts overall on The Mandalorian TV series? Do you like it, hate it, on the fence? What do you think?
I like it, but I definitely wouldn't say, I'm in love with the series. I mean, for what's worth to have, I guess, like the first live action Star Wars TV show, because we've already had the CGI Clone Wars and Rebels, both great shows if you haven't seen them. But I thought, for what The Mandalorian was worth, like it was very well done, lots of action. But I know one of the things that got me was the whole like the child, aka Baby Yoda thing, and
Right.
how his little character just kind of stole the show. And no doubt he is a very adorable little character and everything, but it definitely wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot more heavily focused on the Mandalorian, especially like if you remember the beginning of the very first episode, that bar fight he's in with those guys as he collects his bounty. Like that's what I was kind of thinking the whole show is going to be
It was incredible.
about. Oh yeah, that was a
Yeah.
great opening. I was hooked on that opening, but then as more episodes came out, it kind of seemed like it went a different direction from what the title implied it would be.
I totally agree. So The Mandalorian to me should have from the very beginning been about the Mandalorian. And I get it. I don't even think Disney understood how successful Baby Yoda or the child was going to be. I mean, obviously they had an idea, but it's almost like they accidentally ran into that success. And if you're looking for any proof, all right, The Mandalorian debuted last year, plenty of months in time for the holiday. And guess what toys you could not buy at Christmas time? Baby Yoda didn't exist. The child, you could not get a child toy last Christmas. The only way they could blunder that is if they didn't expect the success that they got. That's my opinion. I don't know that for sure, but I think it caught them a little bit off guard. But what ended up happening is Baby Yoda became, pop culture sensation, and people, are all about Baby Yoda. In fact, the series hasn't even acknowledged what this creature is. I mean, obviously he's Yoda's species, but it's not necessarily a clone of Yoda. And everyone called it Baby Yoda, and Lucasfilm was very quick to get in front of this, go, no, 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 it's the child, which is so stupid to me. You couldn't call him Frank, like just something other than the child. But that's what they called him. And you're right. As the series went on, it became less about the Mandalorian and more about the adventures of Baby Yoda. So moving forward, season 2 is going to debut, I believe, next week. Is that right?
Yeah, it should be next week, October 30th.
All right. So if Baby Yoda, or excuse me, the Mandalorian show starts next week, do you think they end up wrapping up the Baby Yoda storyline with season 2, or is he just an integral part of this series moving forward? What would you do if you were running Lucasfilm, knowing it's a hit, but how long, what are the legs on this thing?
Ooh, that's a pretty good question. Like, first thing that's going through my mind is my personal thoughts on it, which for me as a viewer, my personal thought would be to use season 2 to wrap up Baby Yoda, where like get him to wherever like to a Jedi, which that's where season 1 ended, was him escaping with the child and him being told about the Jedi.
Right.
So, but I guess from a Lucasfilm perspective, I guess it just depends. Like, I guess really how season 2 plays out. I mean, obviously, the character is still very popular, and with the approach of season 2, that popularity has resurfaced. Especially with younger audiences as well that fell in love with that character. But at the same time, the flashbacks we got of the Mandalorian's like past throughout season 1, like
Right.
we kind of understood, okay, I guess like how, like kind of what happened to him, but I would be in favor of digging more into like his past, because talk about the new saga of Star Wars real quick. From episode 6 to episode 7, that's a 30-year gap right there in the story. So I would say use that, because that's 30 years outside of, I guess, maybe like comics and books that have been done,
Right.
to create something that really puts the spotlight on the Mandalorian.
Yeah, I totally agree. And at this point, I'm hearing things behind the scenes that there have been some problems in the production of The Mandalorian, and specifically with Pedro Pascal, who plays Mando, the main character, or the second main character to Baby Yoda. And Pedro Pascal allegedly got into a little spat, and there was fear that he was going to walk off and be done. And seemingly Lucasfilm was okay with that, because here's the mistake that I think potentially Pedro Pascal made. He's playing a character who has a mask. We don't see his face. We saw his face one time. And if you haven't seen the first season, I'm not going to spoil it a lot, but you may want to tune out for about 30 seconds starting now. He takes his mask off at the end because he thinks he's going to die, and to he only showed himself to the IG droid because, again, he thought he was dying, right? And
Right.
so when that happened, um, he, it was like, hey, look, you can save me. I'm going to take my helmet off and, you know, fix me or I'm dead. It was kind of a life or death thing. And to me, that should be it. Like, it never happens again. And so as the actor under the mask, you can get a voice actor that sounds like Pedro Pascal and no one would ever know. You could continue the series with the Mandalorian in the lead role, it not be Pedro Pascal, and I mean, I don't think anyone would care. I mean, I don't know that there's a big Pedro Pascal fan base out there. He was in Game of Thrones, which people may or may not realize. I don't think Pedro Pascal is a household name. And so hardcore geeks, might know who he is, but if he wasn't there or playing that part, I don't think it matters. So I don't know. I think that you could run into a situation where if he were to have left, anybody else could have picked it up. They also have the option of killing the character to where Mando's dead and another Mandalorian picks up the reins. It doesn't say who the Mandalorian is in the title. It's just called the Mandalorian. So what if they flipped it to Boba Fett? What if they flipped it to Sabine? What if they flipped it to Boba's kid? You could go a million different directions. And in every single one of those scenarios, Pedro Pascal is not in the driver's seat of what's going to happen. So if I were him, I'd probably play nice and collect the paycheck. I hear that most of what he's going to do is going to be just voiceovers. They've had a stunt guy playing the body until I think the last episode. So I think they'll continue to do that. And we won't know any different. So this news that I've pulled up talks about season 3. We haven't even gotten to 2 yet. By the way, DinoPie11 asks, when is Mandalorian 2 coming out? Yeah, you said that was next.
It should be next Friday, October 30th.
Next Friday, all right, on Disney Plus. Thanks, DinoPie. Mandalorian season 3 has a working title called Buccaneer. All right, so this article comes from, I think this is from LRM's site. All right, so that's a pirate reference, right? There's a clip, but that won't be from season 3. They haven't started filming it yet. Let's see what this article says. Mention of space pirates has certainly gotten the fans speculating. They've already begun debating whether Rebels character Hondo should be in The Mandalorian. Are you familiar with Hondo?
I am, actually. Hondo was probably one of the better characters to show up in Clone Wars that wasn't Obi-Wan, Anakin, or Ahsoka. Like, I don't know how many episodes he was in. He was also in Rebels, I think, for just one episode. But yeah, like the article says, he is a space pirate. And he was just a very interesting character, and he acts just like how you would expect a pirate to act. It's like I got no allegiance aside to
Yeah.
my crew and treasure, but he was definitely a very lovable character. I want to say months ago, the YouTube channel Watch Mojo, who does top tens on just a variety of topics, they one time did one on like characters from Star Wars: The Clone Wars, like top 10 characters from it, and he was in there as well. And I totally agreed with him being in the top 10.
My knowledge of Hondo comes from Galaxy's Edge at Walt Disney World. He's a main character at Galaxy's Edge. He is the main pirate that's in charge of you getting on board the Millennium Falcon and going through your Smuggler's Run. I think the name of the ride is Smuggler's Run. And so he seems like one of those guys that you can't fully trust him, but if something's in it for him, then he's on your side. Is that pretty much what he has been on the other shows?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he pretty much goes to whatever side is profitable. Like whatever, fulfills, I guess, where he benefits the most from it. Like he doesn't care, like in Clone Wars, like if it's the Jedi or the Separatists. And I know in Rebels when he showed up, he was kind of solo, but it was actually a pretty entertaining episode with him and Ezra. And I'll say this: compared Clone Wars, he definitely had that serious pirate to him, with just
Right.
a smidge of comic relief. But in Rebels, he seemed to have a bit more of a comedic side to him, kind of almost along the lines of like a Jack Sparrow.
Gotcha. And that to me, like a space Jack Sparrow, is awesome. And so I really hope, I'm going to keep reading this article, but I really hope that that's what we're leaning into. So it says that's before knowing whether Hondo's even going to be appearing. So rumor. The article says that they certainly don't think a working title and the mention of space pirates immediately equals Hondo, but that's not to say that he won't show up. The fact that he is sort of that space pirate and they're calling it Buccaneer does kind of tell me maybe that is what they're doing. Interestingly enough, the article says that Hondo is a creation of Dave Filoni, who is one of the executive producers of The Mandalorian. So it makes sense that this character, Hondo, the space pirate, created by the executive producer of The Mandalorian, and then he's calling it Buccaneer. It just kind of fits. So I think there may be something to this rumor.
Hey, if we get a live action version of Hondo, I'm sold on that episode.
So this says that The Mandalorian season 3 is set to begin filming by the end of this year, according to showrunner Jon Favreau, who is the guy that has been all over Star Wars recently in a good way in Mandalorian. Also a big Marvel producer director. He was involved in Iron Man. Big resume on Favreau. All right, so I'm giving this a thumbs up. Are you thinking the same thing? Sounds like we're on the same page with this one.
Yeah, I'm giving this one a thumbs up. Hopefully, we do get to see Hondo again in the future.
All right, let's move on. Different story, Star Wars related. Actor John Boyega preferred Trevorrow's Episode 9. So a little bit of backstory. Colin Trevorrow. He's the director that did Jurassic World, big time movies under his belt. And he was supposed to be the director of Star Wars Episode 9, which was The Rise of Skywalker. There was a falling out, no surprise, because anything that Kathleen Kennedy touches turns to sludge. And while this was being created, Colin had a script, he had storyboards, there's art, and this leaked after the fact, but the movie looked utterly fantastic, especially compared to what we got with The Rise of Skywalker. So John Boyega was interviewed recently, and let's just read this. This also comes from LRM. It says, John Boyega preferred Trevorrow's Episode 9. He had been pretty vocal about how he was not a fan of his character's arc in The Rise of Skywalker. Can you blame him? Finn spent most of that movie shouting, "Rey!" and his Jedi abilities appearing from nowhere seemed poorly thought out. Let's talk about that for a quick second. So Trevorrow's version of how Episode 9 was going to end is Finn, John Boyega's character, actually led the resistance to battle. And at the end, all of the stormtroopers, all of them, ended up siding with him, and they all unmasked and they all took their helmets off and went to battle for the resistance. And it looked awesome. And he was right there leading that charge. What we got was poorly written comedy. They fly now comments. You've got just a character that was throwaway is what we ended up getting. And think about this. I posted this in Facebook earlier today. John Boyega arguably was the most interesting thing about the Disney sequel trilogy, if they did it right. So hear this out. What we got was Rey, who was an orphan on Tatooine, or not Tatooine. What was her planet called? I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, Jakku.
Jakku. Thank you. How could I forget? Everyone forgot. But Rey was an orphan on Jakku, on a desert planet. Oh, just like Luke and Tatooine. Rey found out that she had connections to people in the larger arc of what was going on, just like Luke found out that she possessed some force ability, just like Luke finds out that there might be a Death Star type thing, just like Luke. I mean, it was a mirror, boring story that centered around a female Luke Skywalker who ended up being a Palpatine, which was shoehorned in at the last second. But the idea is she was either a Skywalker or a Kenobi and had the exact same arc, and who cares? Okay, so you gender swap Luke. Luke's a woman now. That's what we got with the sequel trilogy. What you could have had is the story of a stormtrooper who was raised from birth, kidnapped, and bought into the New Order, kidnapped into the Stormtrooper Brotherhood, and raised to be evil with no morals, killing innocent people. But something in his brain said, that's not right. That's all he knew. But something said, this isn't right. I shouldn't do this. There was that conflict. And he ended up deflecting and turning against the Empire, this stormtrooper who defected. That's interesting. That has never been done in Star Wars, at least not in the main films. Maybe, some expanded universe stuff touched on that. I don't know. But in the main films, that was new. And to me, you could have had a sequel trilogy revolving around Boyega's character. Take some of that comedy out. You don't need it. You can have funny bits here and there. That's what the droids were for in the original trilogy. But it doesn't have to come from every main character, and you didn't have to play him like that. On top of that, John Boyega's acting ability is fantastic. Like, I don't know if you've seen him in other things, but he's a very, very skilled actor. And if you put him in a role where you could really test his ability in something that was original in the Star Wars universe, I think they really could have had something. And instead, they took the idea that I just said and made it comedy, and episode 8 that ruined the franchise, I think. It made Luke Skywalker a ridiculous coward hermit. It killed off characters for no reason. It's the movie that killed off Luke Skywalker as a coward. It's the movie that decided that Rey and Finn's love interest couldn't work because Rey needed to have a love interest with Kylo for God knows what reason. And so they had to give him somebody, and hey, let's get Rose into the picture. And then people wondered why, Rose was so hated, because she was just a character created to be a love interest for a person that didn't need it. And he basically wasn't, barely seen. And then episode 9, did the guy even have like 3 sentences in the whole movie? I don't remember.
Well, one of those sentences, he just shouts Rey.
Yeah, he just shouts Rey. So, and John Boyega, people are critical of some of the things he's saying because he's coming at it. These are his words as a person of color. He felt like he got the shaft from Disney because of the color of his skin. He has said that in some interviews. And while that might seem like it might make someone roll their eyes at first, I really think that maybe there was something to that. And I'm not saying Disney's racist or anything. I'm not going there. But what I'm saying is they had a guy that I think could have carried the franchise. And instead, they didn't do that. In fact, not only didn't they do that, but have you heard the controversy about the poster that they had for the movies in China, where he was a big giant part of that poster in the United States? And in China, you talk about being an ist. They took his picture and made it about the size of a postage stamp and put it down behind a lightsaber. And there's something to that. China money helps propel Hollywood into these billion-dollar franchises that get released. And, I think they had a certain expectation for the sequel trilogy, and instead of Disney standing their ground, they bowed down to it, and I think we got what we got. That's not fact. That's my opinion. That's John Boyega's opinion, and I think that there might be something to it. So I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. A little controversial.
Well, I remember when the episode 7 trailer came out for like the first time. Oh man, what was that? Like almost 5 years ago now already? And someone would have to correct me, or I just need to watch it again. But I don't recall in the very first trailer seeing Ray. I remember it opening up with like, you know, John Boyega's character Finn, like on Jakku, like the ship had just crashed. He's in, you know, his stormtrooper outfit. But then, even so, like when the actual poster comes out right before the movie releases, he is the one wielding that lightsaber. So
Right.
I think me, along with possibly the majority of the fan base, was like, he's going to be the Jedi of this saga. But all of a sudden, it's not him, it's Rey.
All of a
And,
sudden.
but, you know, even talking about the you know, a waste of a character. Like I agree that his character, you know, was wasted. He could have been used for something much bigger. And the original script, which I have not read the original script, I've only seen the original artwork, you know, that they had planned for it. But you know, online they had it in the order of like a storyboard. And that part where, you know, like you were talking about a few minutes ago with the stormtroopers, like, you know, he wins them over to the resistance's side. Like, I'm sold because, you know, the rebellion needs a spark. I think they talked about that in episode 8.
Totally
And it's
agree.
like, and like episode 9, okay, this is episode 9. This is the conclusion. You know, this is where everything, you know, turns to end the story, just like in Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi. So it's like, so how is this little crew on the Millennium Falcon going to take down the First Order? I mean, they probably had less troops available to them than the rebellion did at the end of episode 5, for sure.
Right.
So that kind of scene right there, I liked the idea of, you know, not just him, but all the stormtroopers, like, you know, taken from, you know, their homes. They didn't know, you know, where they came from or anything like that. But he wins them over. It's like, to me, that's like a great stance for that character. It gives that hard hitting impact of like, you know, and it even fits with how the story goes because, you know, in episode 7 and 8, he's like, we can't face the First Order. They're too powerful. And then, you know, he has those moments where, like, you know, he's like gaining more and more courage and everything to where, come the conclusion, you know, he could be the spark of the rebellion. But they didn't do that. And even after watching episode 9, I don't feel like there was any spark in that until you see, like, you know, the entire starship fleet and everything of the resistance at the very end. But
Yeah, episode 9 ended up being so piecemeal together. It ended up being just an anti episode 8. It was a big fu to Ryan Johnson, and that was only because of all the noise that was being done about episode 8 ruining Star Wars. Well, if you make an entire movie just retconning another movie, you don't have a movie on your own. And that's, to me, what happened. And then to find out from Rey herself, from Daisy Ridley, who said in an interview that when it first started, she was told that she was going to be a Kenobi, I think she said. And they switched it at the last second to a Palpatine. I mean, that tells you right there where the planning was in this trilogy. And I can't get behind that. Here,
that that to me, her being a Palpatine, it's like, oh, the Emperor's alive. That just made no sense to me
yeah,
whatsoever
just
at
because she
all.
calls herself a Skywalker at the end, the story says she's a Palpatine, and the Skywalkers are dead. All of them are dead, and she will never be an actual Skywalker. By blood, they're all dead. Thank you, Disney. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Disney. But hey, she got a cool yellow lightsaber out
She
of
did
that.
get a cool, yeah, I want one of those. So the
Yeah,
actual,
I hope we can see a yellow lightsaber one day, like, you know, in a future Star Wars movie. Like,
Oh,
It like
we're going to have color coding. We'll get to that in just a second. So the actual quote to finish up this story, he says, this is John Boyega. He says, quote, I think Colin Trevorrow, I don't know how you pronounce it, was going to tell that story, Boyega says, now acknowledging that he's seen and loved the unused concept art for Duel of the Fates, which was Colin's film. That image of Finn with the blue flag, and you have the AT-ATs, or the AT-ATs, I called them as a kid, the big walkers, lined up with tribal marks painted on the walkers. And then the stormtroopers take off their helmets in rebellion. He says that would have been sick. That would have been dope, man, hands down. And I
oh,
agree.
agree.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
agree with that too. That would have been awesome
good
scene
grief.
if that was actually the movie we got.
I almost got chills just saying that out loud. I mean, the thought of that on screen, on a big screen, back when movie theaters were open, would have been fantastic. And instead, what we got was lukewarm, not Skywalker, lukewarm milk toast. That's what we ended up with. I don't know what milk toast is, but I heard it's gross. So there you go. All right, so we'll go from that story into the color coding of Star Wars. Oh, Silver, this article right here. This comes from Slash Film, and they write this like it's such a great thing. Let me change the size of this, maybe.
I don't think in any version of Star Wars I've seen a Wookiee with a Padawan training braid attached to his hair. At least I'm assuming that's the Padawan training braid because their hair is pretty long.
What you're about to see is horrific. All right, so from Slash Film, Star Wars The High Republic, I think it's the Get High Republic, introduces new Jedi Padawans, including a Wookiee with a huge lightsaber. That's right, Silver. It's a Wookiee with a huge lightsaber.
So what exactly is a huge lightsaber?
Now, look at this picture for a second. This looks like something you'd see on the box of a child's cereal. Like eat your Wookiee flakes. What is this? Okay, let's read this. We've already met some of the new Jedi who will be trying to keep peace and order when a galaxy-wide crisis strikes in the upcoming Lucasfilm publishing initiative, Star Wars: The Let's Get Real High Republic. But those are skilled Jedi who have plenty of experience. What about the up-and-coming Padawans? Today, we've got a look at 4 new Jedi Padawan characters, including a Wookiee who wields a big lightsaber, and some details about the stories in which they'll be debuting. So let's just see what's going on. Let's just get to some of the character art. Okay, this is Bel Zetifar. That's Bel. His name is Bel.
Okay.
And Bel Zetifar has some kind of what would you call that? Some kind of a dog creature?
It looks like it's definitely some kind of a dog creature, but even the face looks like a bit of like a dragon almost.
So a dragon-faced dog creature accompanies Bel. Why is his name Bel? Anyway,
I don't know, but actually, at a first look at him, the first person that came to my mind in the Star Wars universe is Jolie Bindo from Knights of the Old Republic.
so part of my issue with this is the outfit is as generic as humanly possible. Let's get...
But what's up with the green sash, though?
Oh, but here we go to the color coding. So I happened to look at this article earlier. I know you haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm.
What color is the sash? Pop quiz.
Green.
What color is his lightsaber?
Green?
What if I told you that every Jedi I'm about to show you has a color-coded sash to match their saber color?
Okay, well...
It's true. As Kurt Angle would say, it's damn true.
It sounds like it's like, hey, I lost my lightsaber. Okay, your sash is blue, so we're looking for a blue lightsaber.
Also, to get into the names for a second, remember Luke Skywalker, Lando, you had Han, Leia. These were all, at least names maybe we've heard, maybe not Han, but it's a very simple 3-letter name. Bel Zetifar. Does that sound like it could be the next Luke Skywalker by name? I don't know what that even is. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Names are diverse. People are diverse. I get it. I'm not trying to belittle the name, but Bel Zetifar. All right, so Bel Zetifar is studying under the legendary Jedi Loden Greatstorm. Loden Greatstorm. That's kind of a cool name. In Charles
Loading
Soule's
Great Storm.
Loden Greatstorm. In Charles Soule's novel Light of the Jedi, the author revealed that Bel and Loden are stationed on a Jedi outpost on the ore-filled world of Elfrona, which lies deep in the Outer Rim. Joining Bel is Ember, a new creature called a Charhound. So this is Ember, the Charhound. Ember looks a little too menacing to be the pet of a Jedi, I think.
The fact that its name is Ember and it's called a Charhound, that really makes me think even more of how the face does look like a dragon, because those are all references to fire.
And why does the Charhound have red eyes? Like, it just seems evil. I don't understand. Anyway, so there's Bel Zetifar. Let's keep going. This is Cereal Box Chewy. And the name of the character, look at the size of that lightsaber. And the blade isn't too shabby either. So this is Buraga.
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 So is it called a huge lightsaber? Like, is the blade just, I guess, longer than what the standard lightsaber blade would be?
First of all, he looks happy to see us. Second of all, I don't understand why. Like, the Jedi are supposed to be skilled warriors that can do almost anything with any type of lighted blade, whether it's a dagger or a sword. Does the Wookiee who doesn't does he need a blade that big? And
maybe he does. Well, maybe he does, because the Wookiees are taller than I guess, like, the average human, I guess, would be in Star Wars. So
why is he so happy though? But back to color coding. This is a quiz, pop quiz. What color is the sash, Silver?
Blue.
Yes, and what color is the blade?
Blue.
Blue it is. This is Buraga. Let's see what his story is. All right, he's a Wookiee, obviously, who's chosen to leave behind his forest planet of Kashyyyk to study the ways of the Jedi on a metropolis planet of Coruscant. All right, so we have a callback to Coruscant. His teacher is Jedi Master Nib, who learned to speak the Wookiee language. It says, since Buraga is a Wookiee, his lightsaber must be big enough for him to wield without looking like he's holding a child's toy. So it's all about the looks, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking with my comment. Like, well, the Wookiees are taller, so I guess he would need a huge lightsaber. But I actually liked what was said about his master there, learning to speak the Wookiee language so he could better train him. That already stands out to me about the master, and has me a little intrigued about that character now.
But listen to what I would say. If you're the master, if you're a Jedi master training a Padawan, the Padawan should learn the master's language, the Jedi master, like whatever it is. I'm not presuming English. That's a story for another time, but we don't presume that these people are all speaking English. That's just the universal translator in the films that we watch. We don't know what their language is. All right. So that's the deal. So let's see let's see if we get a picture of Nib. I don't know if we do. All right, here. No, I don't think so. This is another Padawan. Again, generic, so generic. This is terrible art for me. Pop quiz, Silver. What color is the sash?
This one's also blue.
What color is the saber?
Blue as well.
Blue as well. So we are color coded once again. What happens if they get a different kyber crystal Do they have to go and buy a new belt? Do they got to go to like the belt store and get a new one? I guess. This is Lula Talisola. Lula Talisola. Let's see what her deal is. She's also dressed very generic. You know, hair's cool. That it might get in the way during a battle, but cool. Let's see. She's quite the eager student. She's loyal, compassionate, and looks out for her two best friends, especially when they're causing mischief. This was written for a child. Lula also happens to be top of her class with a lightsaber, but we don't know who her Jedi Master is just yet because it's a secret. It's a mystery. She has a secret Jedi Master. Isn't that a way that you could get into the Jedi temple and just say, you know, like, let's just say that you're Silver from the street and you walk in and you're like, and they're like, wait a minute, you can't come in here. Who's your Jedi Master? You're like, shh, it's a secret. Oh, come on in. We don't need to know who it is. We don't need to know who it is. Let's see. Okay. Oh, this is like the guy from Family Ties. What's happening here? All right. What a...
He almost looks like I guess maybe a possible young Qui-Gon Jinn.
He just looks like he's pissed to even have to take this picture. He's so bored. He's wearing terrible clothes again. Pop quiz. What color is this guy's belt?
Green.
And what color is the saber?
It's also green.
It's also green. This is Reath Silas. The next big name in pop culture is Reath Silas. He, let's figure out what his deal is. Okay, he'll be in the young adult novel Into the Dark. He's studying under Jorah Malley, who's a member of the Jedi Council. This gives Silas far more experience in the dealings of Jedi on Coruscant, but he's about to find out what the real world is like for Jedi when he has to head out into the galaxy and actually put in some hard work. So I guess they're implying that on Coruscant, he basically just what? Like he used some kind of privilege to never have to do any real work until he left and had to figure out life the hard way.
That's kind of what it sounds like.
Come on, but shouldn't his Jedi Master be teaching him about life the hard way? I don't know. He's going off on excursion. All right. Well, these are the fantastic things. We have one of the guys from Family Ties. We've got Lula, who just looks like she, you know, had to find the belt to match the saber at the last second. We got the Wookiee with the giant saber who's dressed ridiculously. And apparently they can't make sleeves. I don't know. I guess they're all wearing vests. And you had Bel Zetifar with a demon dog. This doesn't look like good news for me. But the article finishes off that the Let's Get High Republic starts with Light of the Jedi on January 5th, and then there's a middle grade novel called Test of Courage for younger folks. There's Into the Dark, the young adult novel. And then there's the grown-up IDW Comics novel, just called The High Republic Adventures. And Marvel has one called Star Wars The High Republic. So anyway, all this is coming soon. Yay, I guess.
Woo.
Woo. All right, let's get off of Star Wars. I want to talk about this real quick, and then we'll probably be out of time for the night. By the way, DinoPie chimed in again. He said that it's a Force dog. Interesting. Do animals have the Force, Silver? Is that a thing?
Yeah, there's been a couple animals that have shown it. I want to say Rebels had this giant, like, buffalo-looking creature that worked with Kanan, like, and that thing was really strong with the Force as well.
What? Oh, this seems like a bad idea. I guess they've already done it. All right, good enough. So this last article that we'll talk about tonight. Oh, I was going to talk about Star Trek. I put it in the thumbnail. Have you seen any Star Trek Discovery?
No, I haven't.
Neither has anyone else. That's the end of that topic. Now, moving on. Spider-Man actor Tom Holland reveals first look at his Nathan Drake for the upcoming Uncharted film. Did you play the Uncharted games, Silver?
Yeah, I did. I've played 1 through 3. I've played just a little bit of Uncharted 4, and I have not played I forget what the other one's called, but it's the one that does not have Nathan Drake in it. It has the two ladies in it.
Yes.
But I mean, the first 3 since I played those ones all the way through, like fantastic games, has that just a great sense of adventure, and you cannot not like Nathan Drake's character and Nolan North, who's voices Nathan, and he also voiced Desmond from the first like 3 Assassin's Creed games. Like he's just a very talented voice actor.
Very good.
I would really like to see him in a lot more stuff.
Very, very good. I totally agree with you. Tom Holland, who plays Spider-Man, is the actor that's taking on the live action role. There were some rumors before this was announced. There was a rumor that it was going to Nathan Fillion, and he even did, I think, his own little demo clip. Do you remember that? He did like a demo reel of what it would be like for him to play Nathan Drake.
No, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it was cool. It's kind of like what the guy that did Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, did before they made Deadpool. He kind of made his own homemade thing, and that got him the role. And I think Fillion may have been looking for the same thing. It just didn't work out. But they're going the young route. This article, I want to give them credit, comes from Bounding Into Comics. And they say that Spider-Man actor Tom Holland revealed a first look at the live-action version of the upcoming Uncharted film. That's from the game. Holland shared an image of himself as Nathan Drake to his Instagram account, writing, "It's nice to meet you. I'm Nate." So a younger version of Nathan. And so you can kind of get a feel for how he dressed. He's kind of an Indiana Jones type character in the video games. You definitely can see a Nathan Fillion type vibe with some of the way the video game evolved. But where they're taking it is to a young version of Drake. Let's get to the picture. There he is. So there's Tom Holland dressed as a younger Nathan Drake. What do you think?
I mean, it looks good and everything. I'll admit, when I heard Tom Holland playing Nathan Drake, of course, I'm picturing, Nolan North's character from the games. And first thing that goes to my
Right.
mind is that, well, Tom Holland, he's too young to play, a Nathan Drake character. But to what you said a moment ago about like, yeah, he kind of looks like, an Indiana Jones thing. I remembered that aside from Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones, they did make a couple young Indiana Jones um, movies. But on another thing, talking about, actors going young, and he's not just the only one. Like, there's been quite a few cases that had, younger actors starting to take over, iconic roles like Nathan Drake, from the Uncharted games. So I could see, like, he growing into this role. And I'd like to see more of his comedic side, because I know that's one of the things people love about Nathan Drake's character from Nolan North is there's a sense of humor to him as well. It's like, but when I think of Tom Holland as Spider-Man, it's like, yeah, he has his bit of his moments, but I'd like to see more of like his funnier side.
So I think the biggest mistake they could make is if Tom Holland plays essentially Peter Parker in Drake's clothes. You know what I mean? Like if he plays that version where there is some humor, but he's kind of young and inexperienced and makes a lot of mistakes. I think if they go that route here, it's a mistake. They almost need to say he's a young adventurer. He's reckless because he hasn't gotten that experience yet, but he's still jumping into adventures. It looks like he's in front of a temple of some sort in the picture. So it certainly does appear that he's going to be maybe off on the right foot. I'm open to it. I think he's fine as an actor. I haven't seen him in a lot other than Spider-Man. I know he's been in other movies. I just haven't really seen them.
He's in something that's on Netflix right now. I think it's a TV show.
Gotcha.
But I'm not ripping on Tom Holland. I mean, it took me a little bit to warm up to him as Spider-Man in the MCU. But after watching Endgame, when spoiler alert for everyone, when he came back, that's when I really kind of flipped over to his character a little.
Yeah.
So I think he can do Nathan Drake, but I'm still optimistic on it. But I think he could definitely pull it off. But I think time will just tell.
I think so too. And I'll tell you, I don't know what the state of Hollywood is at the moment. I don't know if this thing gets done and released in theaters, if we're past the virus, or if this thing comes direct to a Disney Plus cut type thing. I don't know. But I guess we'll find out pretty soon, I guess. Real quick, hey, my son's here. I'm going to have him come in and say hi, and then we're going to sign off because there's a big debate. I don't know if you've heard. There's a big debate coming on tonight.
Yeah, I heard. I'm going to be checking that out as soon as we wrap up the show.
This is my son, C before I. He's got the
I was the person in chat,
gangster
by the way.
hair. They don't give away the secrets. But anyway, say hello. He can't. Carter can't. C before I. Yeah, it's Carter. He can't hear you, but you can. You
Hi.
can talk. There you go.
Hey.
His voice has changed. You saw him last year at Netherworld. Maybe 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say that might be 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yes. So he's gotten taller.
No, not really.
Is he taller than you yet?
He's 5'4". No, I'm a little taller than that.
I'm pretty good.
I used to think I was tall, and then all of a sudden, like all these young people I've been around are like,
Yeah, that was probably my fault. I'm 6'2".
6'2". Unbelievable. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining. Silver, thank you for joining. C before I, thank you for joining. Everybody, thank you. And with that, we'll sign off. Any last word? You want to plug anything?
No, I don't have anything else. Definitely thank you for having me on the show. Hope I can hop on again in the future. It was a lot of fun.
No doubt. We're going to be doing these things every couple weeks, and you're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much, everybody. We will check you back again later. More videos to come. Subscribe, comment, like, thumb up, do all the stuff, and we'll see you back here again real
Ring the
soon.
bell.
Yeah, ring the bell. See you, everybody.
This vehicle is leaving the station. Please hold on. Please move to the center of the vehicle and away from the doors.